Have you ever lost someone and just wished you could have one more conversation? Well, what used to be just wishful thinking is now becoming a very, very strange reality. So let's explore that idea together. So this quote is from an episode of the TV show Black Mirror, and it describes a service that basically scrapes a person's entire online history after they die, all their posts, videos, even private messages, to create an AI you can talk to. Sounds like something from way out in the future, right? Because that future, it's arriving a whole lot faster than we think. And this brings us to a story that perfectly captures both the promise and the peril of trying to bring someone back.
Let's actually dig into the story from that Black Mirror episode. Be right back, because it lays out this whole dilemma perfectly.
It all starts with simple text messages. The AI learns to mimic Ash's humor and his style. Pretty soon, it can replicate his voice, and Martha finds herself talking to him on the phone for hours. And then comes the final, kind of terrifying step. A lifelike android that looks and acts exactly like him, all built from every photo and video he ever posted online. Martha's reaction to this android is captured in this one just devastating line. The replica is perfect, almost too perfect. It's Ash without any bad moods, without morning stubble, without any of his random anxieties. It's a curated, idealized version of him. And this just brilliantly shows us the problem, doesn't it? The technology could only reproduce the data Ash left behind. It couldn't recreate the messy, imperfect, and ultimately irreplaceable human being that Martha actually fell in love with. The grief was still there. This profound sense of loss, this really intense yearning for what's gone, it's a universal human experience. But what's incredible is that it's not just reserved for the loss of other people. This is a quote from a Reddit user, and they're desperately trying to find their lost cat, even though other people are telling them it's too late. That refusal to give up, it just speaks volumes about the depth of their bond. It's just a raw, powerful display of devotion. And science is now confirming what pet owners have known all along. This level of grief is completely real, and it is significant. It's not something that should just be brushed aside. You know, psychologists actually have a term for grief that's so severe it becomes debilitating. It's called prolonged grief disorder, or PGD. And until very recently, this diagnosis was only ever applied to the loss of a human. But new research is changing all that. A survey published in PLOS One came back with this absolutely staggering result. The rate of PGD after losing a pet is 7.5%. That is exactly the same as losing a close friend, and it's not that far behind the 9.1% for losing a partner. This isn't just a feeling. We're talking about a clinically significant event. In fact, the study estimated that in the UK, a staggering 1 in 12 cases of prolonged grief disorder is caused by the death of a pet. The pain of that loss is just immense and so widespread. So when you realize how deeply we feel this loss, for both people and for pets, it's really no surprise that technology is stepping in with solutions that seem pulled directly from science fiction. On one hand, you have AI avatars, just like we saw in Black Mirror, which are already being used to help people grieve in places like China. And on the other hand, the pet cloning market is a real growing industry, offering to create a genetic copy of a beloved dog or cat. And let's be totally clear, this is happening right now. The technology to create these echoes of the dead for both humans and animals is already here. But this brings us right back to that central question that Martha had to face with her android. When we use data to create an AI or DNA to create a clone, what part of the being we loved are we actually recreating? I mean, is it really them? So to understand this paradox, we kind of need to look at two different types of identity. There's your personal identity. That's who you are at your very core, your internal compass. And then there's your social identity. That's the version of yourself you show to the world, especially that carefully curated version we all post online. An AI replica can only be built from data, so it only sees your social identity, the smiling photos, the witty comments, that public persona. It has zero access to your personal identity, your inner world of doubts, fears, and private joys. The digital ghost of Ash was missing everything that wasn't digitized. The way he fidgeted when he was nervous, his private insecurities, even the physiological parts of his personality. It was an echo, not the source.
And the exact same thing is true for a cloned pet. It might have the same genes, but it's not going to have the same memories or the same learned behaviors. And this is the profound lesson that's kind of hidden inside our attempts to use technology to conquer death. It forces us to ask a really fundamental question. What makes a person or a pet truly themselves? Because the emptiness that Martha felt, that persistent grief of someone who's lost a pet, it's not because they're missing a data set or a genetic code. Ultimately, what we are grieving is a relationship. We miss the shared history, the inside jokes, the quiet understanding, the comfort of a familiar presence. These things exist between beings. You can't program them or clone them into existence. They are singular and they are irreplaceable. And that leaves us with this one final thought. As these technologies become more and more common, we have to ask ourselves, are we trying to save the person we lost? Or are we just trying to save ourselves from the pain of their absence? And is there a difference?